About a year ago, I asked a friend, who's the same age I am, the question, what would you do if I told you, and was correct, that you had 100 days left to live? Without much thought, he said, it'd change my life. I'd live every day to the fullest. I'd write a book. I'd probably do things like apologize to people I'd hurt, and make sure everybody I loved knew it. I would make every minute count. A pretty typical response. I feel the same way. Next, I asked him, what about if I told you you had that much time left, multiplied by 100? He responded, it would still change my life, but I'd have a bit more time. I'd definitely still do the other things I said before, but that many days would give me the chance to complete some major projects, see and do things I've always wanted to, really make a difference and make sure my life meant something before it ended. To that I told him, but that is how long you've got. His eyes widened, then his thinking face appeared for a moment, and his eyes widened again as he realized I was right. We then talked about how precious our finite lives are. We're often promised that if we say and do certain things, and don't say and don't do certain other things, that we'll live forever, usually in a state of constant joy and pleasure, as long as we spend this life in the way they dictate. I think it's the other way around. This life is our heaven, or our hell. This is all we've got. Why should we squander it on promises of streets paved in gold, and threats of fiery suffering? Everything we know from our observations of ourselves and the universe we find ourselves in tells us that when our bodies die, we cease to be conscious and our experiences are over. We didn't exist before we were conceived, and we return to that state once we're gone. To give even a moment of our precious lives over to superstition, to promises and threats of a supernatural, eternal consciousness, is the greatest tragedy of all. Our 10,000 remaining days are literally all we have. So let's write a book. Let's make sure those we love know it. Let's live every single moment like it could be our last, because it could be our last. I hope the 3 minutes you spent listening to this message will enrich the remaining ones you've got. Please share it with anyone you think could benefit.